Goodness sake. Hey, hello everyone. Chat is live. Thank you for joining us. If you get here, I think we're going to jump right in. We're not going to waste time today. So here we go.
All right, let's get to it.
Welcome everyone to Flyover Fallout today as we speak about a victory in Austin. It was a 3-1 victory for St. Louis, and to help me do that is Santiago Beltran. How's it going, Santi? How are you, man?
Doing great, Phil. Just got back from Austin like at 2:30 in the morning, so not a lot of sleep. But hey, we're here to talk about a win, third away win in a row. So it's a happy one today. I'm glad I was there to see it live. But yeah, I enjoyed calling that one. And Q2 Stadium is a good place for St. Louis City SC.
It sure is. We have a lot of good history there, and if Santi sounds sleepy, I just want to say it for everyone out there that I absolutely miscommunicated badly with him this week on the time today. So I am so glad you're here to help me today, Santi, even though I've messed up your sleep schedule a little bit. But again, we've got a happy one to talk about. So let's dig right into it. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Like, Austin's Q2 Stadium seems really nice. Did you have a good time in Austin while you were there? Anything to highlight there?
No, it was a quick trip, but yeah, I got some Colombian food on Friday night and went for a run yesterday morning and walk a little bit around downtown Austin. And the stadium is great. I really like that the setup they have there, and it wasn't full, but the supporter sections puts a good show there.
I was gonna say that their supporters seem really good, like their
Yeah.
drummers and the trumpet. I played trumpet growing up, so like they sounded great. I was like, it almost sounded like a quality marching band out there. That's how good it was. I thought.
Yeah, even though they were losing, they were still like having fun, and sometimes they will be shown on the stadium screen and like drinking and doing silly stuff. So yeah, it was a good atmosphere.
Good, and I'm glad you got to enjoy yourself a little bit while you were there as well. Cool. Let's start with the starting 11, and we'll start talking about all the big stuff that happened. And then I think we'll talk about a little bit of some fun discussion at the end. So I'm going to push through what happened in the game a little faster than usual so we can talk at the end. So here we go. Berkey in goal, Vollum at left back, Fall and Kessler the center backs, Totland at right back. Morales and Durkin are the dual pivots. Celio on the left, Hartle as the 10, Songbin on the right, Klaus as the striker. Santiago, what'd you think of this?
Well, we didn't nail that one on our consensus lineup. I
We did
kept
not.
thinking after we talked, I was like, so Wallem is not gonna play. There is no way. But I was like, but what about Pedelford? Like he's left back. He was in the press conference, so I wonder if we're gonna see a surprise Conrad Wallem appearance playing as a winger. I was like, maybe we'll see that, but I was surprised to see him as a left back, since he had not played there in a while. But that's where he was playing. He was wing back, left back with Olaf Melberg, and then some changes with David Chrisley, but he knows the position.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, okay, not a surprise because he has played there. But yeah, after Chrisley had teased that Thomas Totland was gonna have a big role, obviously we knew that Thomas Totland was going to start. It was just a matter of, okay, where are the other pieces gonna fall? And then Alfredo Morales as defensive midfielder, something we also didn't have in our lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all things, of course, we discussed when we were talking about the lineups at the end of Thursday's show between Matt and I. But um, it. I was hoping one of my qualifiers was I was hoping that if Vollum plays, it would be Vollum at left back and Totland at right back. That's what I wanted. And mentioning that he was a left wing back was the first position we brought him in for. So I thought he was great as a left wing back. He looks good on the left. He can cause some problems. So that's what I was hoping for as a backup plan to what we officially thought. So I'm glad my backup plan is what we saw, and I thought it looked great. We'll get into that, of course. But it was fun to see when we saw Totland and Ballum. You're like, well, how defensive are they going to be able to be? And I think that is when we look at Durkin and Morales as the sixes rather than say Durkin and Ostrak. I think we saw that we were going to maybe be more attacking on the wings with the fullbacks and then be as solid as possible with our dual pivot. That's at least how I read it there.
Yeah, yeah, and we could see at the beginning of the game, I was a little concerned because Austin was attacking a lot on the right wing with Bukhari, and
Yeah.
he beat Walem a couple of times. He's faster, and I was like, oh, we need to make an adjustment. But it was like the first 15-20 minutes, and then he wasn't a big threat anymore.
Yep. Another one that I saw a lot of potential 11s out there putting Joyner as a starter. I think Ball Watching had him as a starter over Celio, and I thought that was possible. But we saw Celio start this one. Super happy with that. I think the biggest thing is, again, no Ostrak, and
Yeah.
I just have to say, as a personal feeling, who knows what's happening in training, but I just feel like Ostrak, unfortunately, deserves to start, but maybe his positioning is pushing him out of the lineup because he's just not solid at anything but a 10. But how do you take Hartle out as the 10, especially after
Yeah.
what we saw, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a problem for sure, and that's the problem you have when you have a healthy roster.
Yeah.
You have a lot of talent at midfield, and yeah, Ostrak played a couple of games at the 10. Hartel moved to left wing, and they kind of interchanged. But I think Hartel's best position, just based on the last few games, is this position as a number 10, and he showed it last night. So yeah, I think Ostrak right now is the odd man out. When he has played, he has had good games, but it's just when you have so many guys, it's competition, and Chrisley's criteria, how they are performing, training, also what the opponent will propose. So yeah, all of those things go into consideration.
Yep, indeed. The last thing I'll say is, it is interesting to see Celio start, and we were thinking Celio versus Joyner, but in this case, you could put Ostrak there on the left. And it just sounds like they prefer Celio over Ostrak on the left wing as well. So that's just what's happening. Santi, really quick, would you ever be okay with seeing Ostrak on the left wing over Celio and Joyner for that matter?
Yeah, yeah, that would be okay if we want to see what Ostrak can do there.
Yeah,
But we know he's more of a 10, and he also had some success when he played defensive midfield. But
yeah.
but yeah, especially now that you are not playing for much, or basically for nothing, this is the time when you can try those things and see what some of those guys can do and show. And yeah, at this point of the season, I would be okay with um Celio not starting, and either Ostrak or Mackay Joyner starting in that position.
Yep. Okay. All good thoughts. And I just have to say, based on how the game went, I think Critchley absolutely nailed this lineup. I thought it looked great, and it's something hopefully we can build on and use in the future, even if it's not the same every time. We can build on what we've learned from this game, even into next year, I think. So first half, let's start digging into what happened. Third minute, a lot of things worried me, and we're gonna get little one-offs like this. The third minute, Fall has a giveaway to midfield. Only happened once that I saw in the entire game. So that was the only real bad one. No big deal. It was fine. So that's improving. They're dedicated to the build out of the back in the beginning of this game. There were no long balls from Berkey, hardly any. And so
Hmm.
I thought that was something to notice for sure in this entire game. I don't think that ever stopped. Um,
I like that.
I do too. Now, you can't do that, right, if it's a pressing team you're playing against, but if that becomes your standard and it becomes second nature by the end of the season, that's great. Again, something to build on for next year. I think that's a great thing. Uh, I will say, as soon as I wrote that down in the fourth minute, there was a long ball in behind to Songbin that he sent to Hartle, who kind of shot high. It was a low XG chance, and there were a lot of these .03 chances from Hartle until he kind of zoomed in and honed in on his goal that he got in a few minutes here. 10th minute, I just noticed what you mentioned, Santi, that Bukhari beat Vollum, and I thought, oh no, is this going to be a problem today? And it stopped being a problem in that way, at least. Last thing that I want to mention before the goal is 11th minute was the first time I noticed in this game. I've noticed it in spurts in other games, but this is one of many times in this game in the 11th minute that the resting defense of St. Louis City looked good. We saw Durkin sitting in and Morales pressing the ball, right? In the final in the defensive third. So they're making sure no one has too much space, and this is the way they do it. We see a dual pivot working exactly how it's supposed to work. They move it to the wings after that, and Ballum tracks an attacker, and Durkin is forced to cover the overlap on the wing. Perfectly done there as well. There's just this shell, and players are having to meet players with the ball, defend, and other players are covering the space that was left by those players. Organized. Eventually, Austin has to retreat from this moment and rebuild, and it happened a few times, and it just looked like St. Louis knew what they were doing, super organized, nothing crazy happening, even though chances were coming here and there. I thought it looked great. Anything you wanted to say up to this point, Santiago?
No, no. Let's move to the next one because yeah, I do have something to say about that one.
Ooh, the 18th minute one?
Yeah.
Okay, Vollum, Morales, and Celio combining on the left. They were able to combine enough over and over and over until the ball skirts over to Hartle. And he's at the top of the box and he shoots high, not bad, a .02 XG. But that's a little foreshadowing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. What that was his second. One thing I like, and I think previously when Valen play left wing, sometimes we talked about how Celio and Valen will be like taking each other's space and be on each other's way. Last night was great the way the team adjusted to that. Like Wallen will try to run to the middle so Celio could have some space or run behind him. So I really like that adjustment. And maybe it takes games and training, but they look very comfortable playing with each other.
I completely agree. Yeah, and more time the better. That's going to get better. And something else I noticed when both defenses were in their like resting defense and teams are like kicking it around the box, we would see Austin like ring the box kind of over and over and over. And St. Louis almost never does that. They do it once or twice, or maybe they combine on the edges and they work to get the ball to someone open. But almost always at some point we see someone making a run behind so that they can get the ball at the touchline, pass it into the middle. I love that St. Louis doesn't just sit back and ring the box over and over and over, passing, passing, passing. They make some kind of internal run in behind. And at this point, it happens almost every time they kind of get the ball, possessing it in the final third. And you want to talk about field tilt. That is an absolute tactic to get us more touches inside the box rather than ringing the box. And I love to see that. And it feels very much like a Critchley thing.
Yeah, yeah, things seem to be getting better. Obviously, it's late in the season. You can also think about who the opponents have been, but yeah, it looks like the guys are getting the message and doing what Chrisley wants them to do.
Absolutely. Well, in the 28th minute, this plays off. We see a similar situation, except it was a weird mistake from Austin where Savovich gets a throw in and he kind of like, I think he tries to switch the ball to the other side and it just pops super high up and falls to Songbin, who chests it down, kicks it to Morales. Morales passes it to Hartle, who is able to turn into space. He has his back to goal, turns into space, sees he has a little bit more room to take a touch, and he shoots it from outside the box, top right bins, only a .02 XG again. But if you look at the post shot XG based on the quality of the shot after it leaves his foot, it's .57. So he nails it. Beautiful goal.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful goal. It also happened so quickly, like I was doing a read about the city sprint on the 19, and I had to stop it just because I saw Hartel got the ball and he was gonna shoot. But yeah, and then it happened again on the second goal. So I guess the City Spring 5K and Marcel Hartel goals get along.
And it's apt if you start looking at the ground that Hartle covered in this game. Very well done here. And again, this is a bit uh, of a designated player goal, right? Not everyone's going to score that easily on a turn into the far corner like that. Hartle showed his quality, shows why he's getting paid bigger bucks than some of the other guys. And we need those DP kind of goals like that. Just like a few games ago when he turned around and blooped it with his left foot into the goal. It gave us a lead, and that's massive. And I love how this game played out because of it. Now, there was an answer from Austin in the 36th minute. It was a corner, Wolf to Svatok, and it was a header at the back post. Some things went into this, if you guys want to know, that, Totland was kind of beaten physically. And so Svatok, it's a bit of a mismatch there. Svatok's a very tall, beefy center back. Totland didn't quite get him off of his game enough to make him not get this goal. But also, we saw Celio being pushed by a player right in front of Berkey, and Berkey wasn't able to dive at
Hmm.
all because of that. So they did that on purpose, and we saw that the ball was just high enough for Fall to miss the header. It was just too tall for him, even though he got really up high. So a well-planned corner, but also yet again bad set piece defending from St. Louis in a way.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like that push to Celio, wouldn't you think that's a foul? They shouldn't have called that.
I am a terrible judge of these things,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say that always happens, and how I bet a lot often it would be called a foul, though, right? Is that what
Hmm.
you think?
Yeah, I think it's one of those 50-50s, but yeah, it's just unfortunate because then it ended up blocking Berkey and he just
Yeah,
couldn't jump to get that ball. Um,
yeah. It's interesting, and usually they protect the keeper more than the player. So, yeah, I would actually love to see more debate. I'm sorry, I'm doing a terrible job on this because I don't trust my eyes when it comes to fouls and things like that. But duly noted here. Maybe that shouldn't have counted. Thank goodness it didn't matter in the end. We know that now. Um, but the next couple things, 41st minute, Austin continues to look good. They've got a run, ever since the goal and even before the goal, they were starting to look good. They were looking like they were getting back into this game. Like we've covered several times, but just to say it again, they just played an Open Cup final the other day against Nashville and lost it. So I'm sure they're tired. They played most of their main players as always, and then they kind of rotate anyone that
mhm.
isn't their like dead on starter. They rotate a lot. So it wasn't hard for them to rotate those secondary players, but all their starters were in, and I'm sure they were pretty tired. So that's interesting
Yeah.
to consider throughout this game. But they were starting to come back into this game, about 3 or 4 good possessions from them, a lot of shots from outside the box or just in the box, but they are finding open players. So, at this point, I'm worrying, 1-1 again after a goal. We give one up immediately. This is a
Yeah.
problem from St. Louis. So I was a little worried about how they were finding open men. People weren't getting marked perfectly at the top of the box. That's been scary in the past. In this case, it didn't come back to haunt us. So,
Yeah, Austin had a lot of space, and yeah, they definitely took over after the goal. But even though they had they created like some half chances, nothing dangerous, but you could see, okay, they are getting closer. They're getting closer and have more men in City's field, and you knew that Austin needed a result. Basically, a win or a draw yesterday will have confirmed their presence in the playoffs. That's gonna have to wait. But you could see they had the urgency also because they lost midweek in that Open Cup final. They also lost previous weekend, so it was one of those like, okay, we have to stop this losing streak and get in the playoffs. But they didn't create like anything like really clear. But they were the better team at that point.
yeah, I think, yeah, just for a little while there, but it was a nice long stretch. But that said, in the 45th minute, we get a goal from Hartle, a second goal from Hartle. Now, the broadcast kind of messed me up, so I'm so glad you were there, Santiago. It looked like there was a goal kick that was coming, and they showed a bunch of players on the sidelines, and all of a sudden, I saw Celia with the ball. Do you know what happened from that point, before that point?
That's another that was very quick. And I was also like doing trying to do that same read about the 5K again, and then I was able to finish it, but I knew. But yeah, St. Louis got the ball really quickly, and then transition on the left side, and Celio and Klaus had some good moves, and Celio ended up with that pass to the middle of the box, and then Hartel just did all the right things to let the defender slide and find the space, and then barely touched it, but it was outside of Brad Stuber's reach.
It was, yeah. There were a few things that could have been better defended here from Austin for sure, but the fact that we got Celio facing goal, we don't know how he got there. It looked like perhaps either a header off the goal kick or a turnover, but Celio's facing goal. He gets it to Klaus, who is able to be on the run, who sends it back to Celio slightly wider, and Celio crosses it in. It's a slow cross, and it's into open space. And we know Celio did the open space thing on purpose, even if it wasn't a solid cross.
Mm-hmm.
Hartle's able to cut inside, get to that ball. And this is where more DP magic. This is beautiful. If you haven't seen it, they played lots of replays. I suggest you go look at the up close slow motion version of this goal, because Hartle touches it and spins, and he hits it with his outside of his right foot
Mm-hmm.
as he's spinning, and he pushes it perfectly into more space. There wasn't much there. And then he steps forward, kicks it again with the outside of his right foot, because it looked like he was going to shoot left or center. And he was able to use his outside of his right foot to kick it to the right where no one was ready for it to go.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to go in 10 out of 10 times if it was on goal, and it was. So this was a goal, beautiful goal from Hartle, just well done. I'm sure you enjoyed that one.
Yeah, yeah, it was going into halftime with a lead. That was great, and especially because Austin had the momentum after they scored the
Yes.
equalizer. But City did a good job, like defending and then finding this moment in transition. And Hartel was plugged in last night, had a brace, and things were looking good going into halftime.
Yes. So you see the DP quality. His obviously he didn't do anything standard there. That was very creative, all the things he did there. You see a little bit of that street baller talent that Lutz would talk about with him, so that was beautiful. And St. Louis continues to push all the way to the half. Many good chances, a free kick and a corner around the 49th minute. So well done, St. Louis, pressing and pushing even though they're up 2-1 away. So I love that. Some of the first half stats: XG at this point is 0.31 to Austin, 0.97 to St. Louis. So they're doubling their XG. Read into that what you will. Maybe Santi, might have some thoughts about that in a second here. But shots 1 out of 5 on target for Austin, 4 out of 14 on target for St. Louis. Possession was 52 to 48, very close in Austin's favor. Field tilt, I love these because it tells a story here. Passes into the opposition half, 76 to 70, Austin's favor. Into the final third, 39 to 41, St. Louis edges out on that one. Touches in the opponent box, 11 to 19. St. Louis handily in the lead on that one. And that's the one that I love to see being higher. And it consistently is higher for St. Louis. Any thoughts on those, Santi?
Yeah, no, you could see even though Austin had more possession and had more passes in the opposition's half, they weren't very dangerous, and you can see that on the XG, also shots on target. Um, and yeah, City was just more effective with the transitions and with the shots, and I think it was deserved going into halftime 2-1. I think Austin's style fits City, and we have seen that over these 3 years. City has won four of the 6 games, only has lost once, and it just looks like Austin hasn't been able to figure out City. But yeah, the stats show what was happening on the field. Even though Austin had more possession, they didn't do enough to go to halftime with a good result.
Absolutely. All right, a little less to talk about in the second half other than the subs and the goal, but a few things stand out to me. More good resting defense from St. Louis in the 50th minute and on. Austin is creating chances, but they're often outside the box. They are finding open players here and there. A lot of things getting blocked last minute. So the defense is holding out. And something I noticed at this point that we'll be able to explain later, Celio looks defensive stout. Around that time, I'm like, man, Celio has been back defending a lot in this game, and
Mm-hmm.
he's done a really good job covering his position. And so I think that's something to notice. Even when, as I mentioned, would you like to see Ostrak on the left? I think part of Celio's starting lately has been his defensive work. He's good. He's better than Joyner by a lot. That's something I noticed recently. So just wanted to call out how good he's been there.
Yeah,
60.
when you
Go ahead.
have a somebody like Walem that will go up so much, you need to
Yes.
figure out a way to cover either with the winger or with a center midfielder, and Celio did that very well last night. Even though I think, and I guess we can keep going, and I'll give you some more thoughts once we get to the 60-70 minute.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'll push to you. In the 63rd minute, McSorley comes in and Joyner come in for Songbin and Celio. So we swap out the attacking wingers. 69th minute, Vollum is tucked inside and Joyner's running wide and in behind. I just wanted to note that. That was fun, a fun little wrinkle because clearly Vollum is good centrally. Clearly, Joyner enjoys space and dribbling. So I love that wrinkle there. That's not an accident, I'm sure. Even if it's just natural, even if it wasn't planned, these guys know what they're doing, whether it was or not. 69th minute. I already said that. Pardon me. Klaus is gassed at this moment as well.
Yeah.
This is like things were fine, things worked out, but we're only up 2-1. And I keep seeing Klaus like he's pressing as the 10 because I think he's out of energy, and Hartle's pressing as the striker, which is fine. I don't mind that at all. You can even see the passing chart showing that that's kind of what's happening no matter what, even on the attack. But it bothered me in the 70th minute when we see Hartle driving at goal and Klaus is right next to him, and he just never makes a run forward. Later on, Hartle tries to kind of lay it off for Klaus, who should have run into space, and he just didn't run into space. So that really bothered me. I
Yeah,
would say this
I was
is
annoyed too.
yeah, I would say this is Critchley's only mistake was not subbing Klaus out. I think that was a straight up almost undefensible mistake the way it ended up playing out is he should have had Betcher in there a lot earlier.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to bring up about the substitutions. So you have Max Orley and Mackay Joyner go in, two offensive players. And when you look at what Austin did right before Max Orley and Joyner came in, um, Austin brought Diego Rubio and also brought Kolmanic, and basically started to play with three in the back and
Mm,
attacking with more people. But you bring two offensive players, so like Austin is gonna have more guys attacking, and you are not really making any adjustments to defend against that. And then a few minutes later, they take out Ili Sanchez, their center midfielder, and they put CJ Fodry, another attacking player. So at that point, they basically were throwing the kitchen sink. They knew they needed a result because their next two games are not easy. They play LAFC next week, and in the last game of
mm,
the season, they play San Jose, which could be one of those elimination games. So they they knew they had to at least
mm.
get a goal, and they had too many guys attacking. But I felt like for 10-15 minutes we weren't making any adjustments to defend against so many men.
Great eye there. I totally missed that. But it did make a difference. And I think you're dead on in the 72nd minute. We see a really stupid yellow from McSorley, and that makes sense, right? He took a bad angle, but there's more attackers and he just got outsmarted. The defender was better at attacking than McSorley was at defending there. Um, let's skip ahead a little bit here. The Klaus run that didn't happen. Here we go. 78th minute, Betcher comes in for Klaus. Finally, I guess that's only 8 minutes late by my count there, but still, I think it should have happened earlier.
Yeah, and he asked, and Aaron Lake just mentioned here. Yeah, he was waving at the bench to get sub, but that was
Thank you.
after that run he didn't make on that Hartel pass. But yeah, I guess he was really tired, which is fine, and it's also okay to ask to be sub if you are not 100%.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And he was right, in my opinion, even though maybe he should have tried a little harder here and there. Who knows? We weren't there, and it's not our legs doing the running. But I will say, once Betcheron, he had immediate effect, and it was just perfect for him to come in at this point. The first thing that happens in the 80th minute, Betcher crosses in from the right to Joyner, and Joyner very nearly gets his first MLS goal this season.
Second, don't forget about his first.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. I did forget. So it would have been
Yeah,
his second goal. Was that a header he got in?
he scored against Houston. Yeah, I
Thank you
had it.
so much. Thank you for the correction. This one would have been a lot prettier. It was a beautiful
Oh yeah, that
counterattack.
was a great transition.
He was trying to jump and kind of tap it in with his left foot to the far corner. It just went a little wide left, but great running, great positioning, great cross all around. Betcher used to do this all the time with Johnny Klein. They would just interchange all the time at SLU, and it was a lot of fun to watch,
Hmm.
and it looked
Hmm.
just like that. So good stuff. They're used to doing that. 83rd minute, again, good resting defense. I just want to say it's just so nice to be comfortable with the defending from St. Louis City. It's a new thing. So skip around to 89th minute, more good chances in the box. They racked up field tilt, a million shots and passes and touches in the box. A corner goes out. 91st minute, a great outside of the foot pass from Durkin. After the corners, some things happen, and Durkin gets the ball, looks forward, takes a touch, and just hammers that ball with the outside of his right foot to Betcher running in behind, splits two defenders. He can't get a shot off, so he kind of touches it back, taps it to McSorley. He shoots wide, but this is like bread and butter stuff. All these things I just mentioned from McSorley, Betcher, and Joyner. Why? Because we got a lead and kept a lead after the first half, after the second goal. We can put in two young players that we think we see as potential starters or subs in the next season, who a lot high ceiling players that could become really good. Betcher's bread and butter is to run in behind and close out a game, a tired defense. All three of these guys running in behind at the back line late in a game is like what we want to see with a lead, at least, right? So this played out exactly how you want to see as far as what City wants in many different ways, tactically, starting with the lead, playing young players and growing them into the game. I was just so happy to see that as well.
Yeah, yeah, you bring fresh legs. Just in hindsight, just based on what happened in the last 15 minutes, even though it was a little scary when Austin made all those
Mm,
substitutions to put more men on the attacking side. Like, yeah, you are set up for the transition, and you have fresh legs. You have a better joiner and Max Orley that just entered, and they play well, move well in transition. I just wish one of those will have ended in a goal,
hmm.
just because that would be huge for either for joiners or Max Orley's confidence. Yeah, they have a score already, but doing it in one of these matches, playing away with the result on the line, will have also been great for that confidence.
Absolutely. Completely agree. 92nd minute, just a couple more things here. Ostrak comes on for Hartle. 93rd minute, we get the goal from Betcher, and we see Morales turn in the build-up. And I got mad. I was like, take your space. And instead, he pops a ball up to Betcher, who is running in behind, splits the center backs again, takes one touch, and chips the keeper for a goal. And immediately I was like, that wasn't even the nicest possibility in the last few minutes. And then I watched the replay. It was a beautiful ball on a dime.
Oh, yeah.
Betcher, decent touch, but chipping the keeper in behind was just a beautiful thing to see late in a game. So I loved this goal after I watched it a few times. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great goal for sure. I was also wondering, like, why is Scotland not running to the right side to get the ball
Mm,
from Morales? But obviously Morales saw something different and saw that Betcher had a chance to get in that space. So great pass, and then great finishing by Betcher too, who he had not scored in a while. So I was happy to see him back on the scoring sheet.
me too. And Alfie will take those chances from time to time, and it can be amazing sometimes. Even if it doesn't come off, you forgive him because this kind of stuff happens a lot. Not his first good ball in that game either by a long shot. So did you say Totland wasn't running on, or he was and he didn't get the ball and you were
No,
worried?
he wasn't. He decided to stay,
Okay.
and maybe that was planned. It was more like, let's try to keep the ball, but at the same time, if you pass it to the right to a running Totland, you can hold the ball in the corner and
Yep.
just waste some time. But obviously, Morales had the vision, and he saw better in the perfect position. But yeah, it caught my attention that usually when you have the ball where Morales had it, you will see somebody running on the right side or on the left side, but Ronan just Totland just stay put.
We are going to cover that, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Santi. I'm glad you saw that. 95th minute. Last thing we'll say: there's a counterattack. McSorley finds Joyner on the far side perfectly. Unfortunately, Joyner was just forced to shoot with his left, and he just didn't get enough oomph on it. It was an easy save for Stover. Any thoughts on anything else you want to mention about the second half before we do stats?
No, no, just a great performance overall. Getting another win, playing away against a playoff team. It's great for the confidence for this group, and hopefully one more to go, and they will
Mm.
close with a win at home against Real Salt Lake.
I would just love to see a win there as well. Good on Critch to get such a good record on the way out here of the season. Some stats: XG 2.3 to STL in the entire game, not the second half. This is the entire game. 1.1 to Austin. Uh, Austin had 2 out of 15 shots on target. St. Louis had 8 of 24 on target. Very nice. Possession 56 to 44. Austin was forced to possess the ball a lot more in that second half because they were behind. And St. Louis, that's how we want it, right? That's what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Passes in the opposition half, 184 to 139 to Austin. Part of that possession number for sure. Passes in the final third, 102 to 78 in Austin's favor. And then we love to see this. 23 to 33. St. Louis had more touches in the opponent's box in the second half, even though Austin had the possession, even though Austin had more in their opponent's half in the opponent's final third. Love to see that. So really good stuff from St. Louis. If you want to see the game plan St. Louis wants to see, that was it. I think everything went right. Even despite my only complaint being, should have subbed Klaus out earlier. Anything else you want to say? I guess I do still have worries about defending set pieces, perhaps, is still a thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's still something the team needs to work on, but at the same time, if you think about it, you are not allowing goals on the run of play, so it's also a good thing.
Yeah.
Something I saw last night, even though one of those games was a loss, the team somebody posted the team hasn't allowed goals after the 75th minute in 6 games.
Great fact.
Yeah, and on this one, you were playing with the lead, something that has been a problem in other games. When Austin had all those attackers, I was like, "Oh no, here he goes again." A game that you are winning 2-1 could end up in a 3-2 loss, but the team defended well and also didn't quit on counter attacking. So in the end, turned out great. But yeah, the fact that the team is defending better towards the end of the game is also something to note.
Yes, absolutely agree. And I think that's massive to be able to do what you just said there, Santiago. And Aaron Leak also adds that they were still going for it in the final third, not just sitting back on defense. So you're just seeing a solidification of St. Louis in all phases of play, defending, pressing, attacking in the final third, building out of the back. It's all looking pretty good, at least in this game. And I think there's some caveats there. I think we'll cover that in a second. But I want to look at this passing chart. And Santiago, you've mentioned so many things that you saw that the stats have just shown us perfectly based on what you said. And one is that Tottenham not running in behind in that one play. You look at this passing chart. Tottenham sat back a lot in this game. He's behind the middle line, and Volum's average positioning is way ahead of the middle line, right up there next to Celio in the first 69 minutes. So anything else stand out from you on this passing chart? It seems to me that Totland for sure was asked to sit back and defend and not get forward too much. And I think that comes from Vollum being a more attacking player. That's what we want to see. But also, Totland is a better defender than Vollum. Almost playing the Padelford role in a way to some extent, but more defensive even.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good to keep that balance, especially when you have a player like Valem who will go every time, and he's good, and he runs back, but at the same time you leave some space sometimes. So yeah, it was a good balance to have Totland staying back. He had a good game. He started. He had his first start in forever. So I'm glad he had a good game too.
Yeah, and I jokingly said we better have a good game from Tottenham because everyone's been
Right.
crying about Tottenham for so long, and more so, I was so excited to see Tottenham and Vollum together. Now talking about this, Vollum, we don't know if he'll be back next year. His price tag's pretty high if he does come back, and I think most people are worried about making him a DP level player. And whether that's worth it, I don't know. But what we do know is Totland will be back, right? We're not sure about Padelford either. So seeing Totland in there playing a role, maybe we bring in an attacking left back next year and he plays the Vollum role. Who knows how it will go? But we needed to get Totland in there because we need to start planning for next year, especially now that the playoffs are over. So I was glad to see this.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the team does at the end of the season. Obviously, you have Pedal for on loan, and then there is the question in the air about Conrad Valem. So yeah, we'll see. I know his price tag is high, but he has been so good
Yeah.
for the team. So hopefully they can figure something out. So he is a TAM player instead of a DP.
Yep. I would love to see them figure out some salary dollar movement in order to make that work. I agree. Um, Average height of defensive actions was pretty high for St. Louis in this one, 45.09 meters, average of 38.5. Now, part of that is Olaf is in that equation, but still, 45 is one of the higher ones I've seen in recent weeks. I could be wrong about that, Santi. You're probably more on top of that. But Austin was at 41.38, higher than usual for them. They're also averaged around 38. But I enjoyed the pressing that we saw from St. Louis, just like always pushing forward, always squeezing, and then when they see an opportunity, they pounce, and it works when they really go for it in most cases. So I've enjoyed watching the choice of picking their moments in pressing in the last. I mean, since Critchley took over, actually, I think it's something that's been solid since he took over.
Yeah, yeah, and just one more game. But yeah, I every time this team is showing better things. My only caution is you also have to think about who we have played, and you could see last week LAFC basically outplayed St. Louis, and now St. Louis is beating teams that are not as strong as LAFC, but
Mm.
you still need to get that. In my opinion, even though Nashville was a good one, you still need to beat these teams that are at the top of the table or be competitive against them to show you're progressing. You know.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly where I wanted to pivot. And I want to give you more chance to talk. So just give you some of these facts. Just because, I like to cast doubt a little bit when things are good. And I like to be a little more positive when things are bad when I can. And so, um, Austin wasn't able to clinch. My 12-year-old, my oldest son said, it feels good to possibly ruin the playoffs for someone else. And
Yeah, yeah, and
it
it
does.
it could happen in 2 weeks again against Real Salt Lake. So
It could indeed. So that's a good feeling. That's something to look forward to, perhaps in the as we close out the season. But points per game for Critchley, we're up to 1.11 in 18 matches. That doesn't sound terribly impressive. I think 1.3 is what Matt keeps saying
hmm
usually gets you
hmm
into the playoffs. He's been 6-10-2, as in 2 draws, 10 losses, 6 wins. In the last 5, here's a good spin, right? I mean, this is spinning a little bit. 1 loss, 1 draw in the last 5, 3 wins. Before that was 3 losses, to be fair. But the win before that was the Nashville win. And you mentioned that because it stands out to me as that was a statement win. Um, LAFC, pretty embarrassing, right? The way that game went. And you just thinking about Critchley and next year, how does all that strike you, Santiago? I want you to kind of lead the way here. Where's your brain on Critchley right now on how he's done? Because there's excuses both ways, right?
yeah, yeah. Obviously, the team is doing better the last few games. You can see the team has improved, is defending better, um, taking advantage of the opportunities he creates. It looks like what he's implementing every week. You can see that the players are getting the message and implementing it, but the team is out of the playoffs. Was mathematically eliminated last week. Even Chrisley himself said on the presser before the game earlier this week, like, yeah, we even though we got mathematically eliminated, we all knew what the outcome of the season was going to be. Yeah, when you have to like win everything and depend on everybody losing, yeah, that's kind of impossible. But yeah, I think he's doing a good job with the players that he has, and it looks like the players like him and get the message. But I don't know. I still think that statement win is missing. And if you think about it, like, yes, the team beat San Jose, who was in playoff contention at that time, beat Austin last night, also a team that should make the playoffs. The question is, will they make it in 7 or 8 or 9 position? But I think they will still make it. But and so you can say, yeah, we beat two teams that could be in the playoffs. But at the same time, you think about the ones that come to mind to me are Houston and
Mhm.
Dallas. 1 point in 4 games against those teams. And I remember talking about it, looking at the games that were left, and there were 2 games against Houston, 2 games against Dallas, who at that point were in that playoff bubble, and you didn't show and you didn't get points against them. You didn't show good playing and didn't get results against them. Just one draw against Dallas playing with 10 men. And I think
Mhm.
that's what sealed the playoff fate for City. So yeah, the product has gotten better, but I just don't know if this sample size of the last 5 games is enough um, for ownership to decide, okay, Chris Lee is our guy for next year. At the same time, you have the dynamics of you need to get both a sporting director and a coach.
Hmm.
My what I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think with the team needing to get both a sporting director and a coach, I think the team will get the sporting director, and maybe we'll let Chrisley start next season. And if he does well, great. He will keep the job. If things don't go as expected, the sporting director will have time to find a guy he likes.
I have come around to thinking exactly the same thing, and I know it was mainly because you said that in our DMs, and I thought through a little more just to add to that. There's just a lot of change that needs to happen, kind of like you're implying there. And honestly, there's a lot to figure out with the roster next year in this off season. And are we? How many of these players are we going to re-sign based on how the year went? Is Critchley able to motivate these players? That's still something that I'm wondering. Again, like you said, these players or these games that we've looked good is often against teams that aren't all that amazing. So a lot of embarrassing ones standing out. But I will say the team tactically looks better every week. Whether they're trying all out for everybody every week, I can't tell that at this point, but I can tell that Critchley's getting things right consistently, tactically. So things are looking good. And I agree with all that needs to be changed next year, especially the roster. I think you almost use Critchley as like, well, we give it a shot. We keep some consistency for a change. Um, and if it goes well, we keep Critchley. And if it doesn't, at least we've had another year to build within our own system the way we're going to want to see it. And if he's not able to motivate him, I don't think we lose that much. Maybe at that point we finally build something, have something to be the standard St. Louis thing for another coach to come in and say, okay, we keep everything the same, but now I motivate you to be something next level, and we take it to the next step. So give Critchley a year to continue to build the base and hopefully find a coach if it's necessary at all to put the cherry on top and take them to the next level and build on it, not to change it completely like Olaf did. So that's what I would like to see, and I think Critchley's earned it at this point, especially with the situation they're in. And I didn't really add much to what you said, but I do think you could even think of Critchley as like, the canary in the coal mine, right? Like, will this work or not? And he's going to stay in the organization either way. That was said in
Right.
the last presser. So what
Hmm.
are you losing if it isn't perfect next year? Not a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think we also know that this is not one of those things that, okay, new sporting director, new coach, we made decisions on players, some leave, we bring some other players. I don't think, if people are expecting that GR1 City is going to be at the top of the table,
Yeah,
they have to lower their expectations. So I think it's going to take a couple of, at least two transfer windows, if not three, and it's going to be a process that it may take a couple of seasons to get to where you want the next 5 year phase for the team to be at.
completely agree. Anything else you want to say, Santi? I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. We could talk about the man of the match if you want to dip into it, but I think we've covered the
Oh,
important
who
stuff.
was it? Who was it? We know who that
Yeah,
was.
Cardle, of course, and he earned it. Got the brace and just looked as amazing as he's been looking in the last several weeks. Did you see this quote from Taylor? Do you want to mention?
Yeah. I wanted to get your, since you had it here. Let's talk about it.
So ball watching mentioned something on X, I think, or Blue Sky. I'm not sure, but talking about how great Hartle is. Bad day for the Hartle naysayers, they say, and Taylor Twellman says nobody gets it. He's a square peg in a round hole in SDL. Proper player and in the right system, for example, Columbus, he's killing it. Um, that sounded pretty negative, as if like Hartle doesn't fit here, right? And I'm sure that's what he means. How do you feel about that, Santia?
Yeah,
That
to
kind of
me,
shocked
it sounded more like and it could be that doesn't fit the system or doesn't have the right players around him in
me.
12 months opinion. But the team is going, we'll see what the team does in terms of who comes in, who doesn't stay with the team. But yeah, you need to start building the team around pieces like Hartel. He has been very very important the last few games. Not only has he scored, he has assisted in some goals, and it looks like he's back to that Hartel that we had last year after the League's Cup break. Like, he was unstoppable, and he was scoring, assisting. He had a game with 3 assists against Portland last year, and he ended the season like as a player to watch this season in the
Mm.
MLS. And I don't know if teams figured him out, or I don't know if it was Olaf's system or what, but he wasn't the same at the beginning of the season. Could have been all of system. But he's he's doing really well the last few games, and I'm excited to see what pieces the team will bring to continue that momentum.
Yeah. And I've been watching a lot of St. Pauli, which is where he came from, right? And St. Pauli plays really similar to St. Louis, honestly. So does Hartle fit? Yeah, absolutely. He
Yeah,
fits. Like, he covers so much ground. He's a good pressing player. He's a willing pressing player. You know, how many designated players are going to put in that much of an effort as far as running that much and that hard at times? So I think he fits perfectly. I think he's comfortable in the way that we play because it's just like probably what he's grown up with his whole life. So would he be better at Columbus? I'm not sure. Maybe. Um, and maybe he'd have a really good time. But yeah, I disagree. I don't think he's quite a square peg in a round hole, but I do think you made a good point. Perhaps he needs to be surrounded by different players. I would love to hear, if he was willing to admit it, what kind of players would you like around you? Or like
yeah,
what would you love to have in front of you when you have the ball driving at goal? So yeah, that'd be fun.
yeah.
We'll never find out.
Yeah, I don't think we will ever find out, but maybe the players that the team brings in the off season could be
Mhm.
a sign of that.
And we'll just end it with this. A new sporting director, hey, maybe South America opens up. A goal scoring
Hmm.
winger sounds really, really good
Oh,
to me right now.
I would love that.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening, Santiago. Thank you again for joining me, even though I've ruined your sleep patterns here
Oh, no
after
problem.
flying home from Austin. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you guys soon. Matt will be back next week for Fallout, and I'm sure at a better time that you're more used to. But also, Matt and I will be together on Thursday night, and we'll see who wants to join us. It'll at least be me and Matt, and we will do a wind down, believe it or not. So that'll happen. It'll be for the last game of the season, and then we'll do a final show to kind of break down the whole season, and then followed by probably an off season of emergency pods when something big happens. So it'll be fun. All right. Thanks so much again, Santi. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, no, I think that covers the win. Happy podcast, and I hope we can do one more after the game against Real Salt Lake.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Good to chat with you. We'll be talking to you soon. Bye.
Vamos City!